Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1971B, and today's date is September 16th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Operatives Hunted Down, Deep State Plan Backfired, No Place to Hide. Now, before we get started, let's talk about being prepared. The world is going to change. That fact is all over our headlines and how markets are reacting to them. And when it does, it only takes one major disaster to remind us of how fragile life is. Today's the day to act, and we're in National Preparedness Month. And I prepare with my Patriot Supply. They're the industry leaders for preparedness and sell the emergency food, gear, water filtration products that you will need at some point. Act today and save $100 on a 4-week emergency food when you go to my special website, preparewithx22.com. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Well, time is ticking down for the mainstream media, the deep state, and they know it. They're pushing everything they have, but it is backfiring badly on them. The mainstream media is now exposed themselves to the people, showing that they create fake news stories to push their agenda. Let's take New York Times, for example, their hit piece on Kavanaugh. It is now completely falling apart. The New York Times has been shamed into adding a humiliating correction to its latest and now debunked smear of Associate Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. The correction admits a fairly, somewhat kind of sort of maybe important piece of information about how Kavanaugh's alleged victim refused to talk to the Times and doesn't remember the alleged assault. Prior to publishing the smear, the Times knew this fact and still chose to deliberately hide it from the public. And we all know why. It proves the whole story to be fake. Now, did you catch that? Did you catch what the New York Times is now admitting? That Brett Kavanaugh's alleged victim doesn't recall being an alleged victim. The victim doesn't remember the assault. The victim doesn't remember being sexually assaulted. She doesn't remember it happening. And the New York Times not only went ahead and reported the story as credible, the New York Times hid that information from its readers. Here's the bombshell portion. We also uncovered a previously unreported story about Mr. Kavanaugh in his freshman year that echoes Miss Deborah Ramirez's allegation. A classmate, Max Steyer, who saw Mr. Kavanaugh with his pants down at a different drunken dorm party, where friends pushed his penis into the hand of a female student. Mr. Steyer, who runs a nonprofit organization in Washington, notified senators and the FBI about this account, but the FBI did not investigate, and Mr. Steyer has declined to discuss it publicly. We corroborated the story with 2 officials who have communicated with Mr. Steyer. Now, it's worth pointing out that Max Steyer is a Democrat operative, a former attorney for the Clintons. Sarah Carter tweeted out the following. New York Times editor omit the fact that Max Steyer, that accused Brett Kavanaugh, worked as Bill Clinton's defense attorney. Guess on what case? When a woman accused Bill Clinton of exposing himself to her in a hotel room. Think about this for a second. They made this whole entire thing up to go after Kavanaugh again. And then all the Democratic presidential nominees, what did they do? They started to tweet out about this. And why did they do this? Because in the past, they thought they controlled the narrative. And any time the mainstream media came out with something, it was true because they controlled everything. But guess what? That's not true anymore. But they started to tweet Kamala Harris. I sat through those hearings. Brett Kavanaugh lied to the U.S. Senate and most importantly to the American people. He was put on the court through a sham process, and his place on the court is an insult to the pursuit of truth and justice. He must be impeached. Julian Castro. It's more clear than ever that Brett Kavanaugh lied under oath. He should be impeached, and Congress should review the failure of the Department of Justice to properly investigate the matter. Then we had Elizabeth Warren. Last year, the Kavanaugh nomination was rammed through the Senate without a thorough examination of the allegations against him. Confirmation is not exoneration, and these newest revelations are disturbing, like the man who appointed him. Kavanaugh should be impeached. Now, they just went ahead with a fake story, and they're tweeting out fake information. That should tell you something. Well, we know that impeachment is not going to happen because the story's fake. And also, Nadler, he poured cold water on the impeachment of Kavanaugh. Not because the story is fake, because he said they're too busy pursuing the impeachment of the president. More fake stories, more fake impeachment processes. There's no evidence. They're creating the evidence. That is also going to fail. Trump tweeted out the following. Just out, Kavanaugh accuser doesn't recall incident. Do you believe what these horrible people will do or say? They're looking to destroy and influence his opinions, but play the game badly. They should be sued. They should be because they knowingly, and there's that word, knowingly, put out a fake story knowing that the accuser didn't remember a thing, but they left that part out. I believe they're open to this huge lawsuit, and this should be pursued. Now, the question is, why is the mainstream media, the deep state, putting this story out now? Because we talked about this before in the last report, saying that they didn't put this out because there was nothing there. But this time they decided to go with it. Are they trying to get ahead of something else that's coming? Where they were trying to put something out there to maybe smear Kavanaugh because something else is about to happen in the Supreme Court? Maybe. Because it's very odd, and the timing is very odd. Now, very interestingly, Edward Snowden is back in the news. Remember, he is in Russia, and he can't return to the U.S., and this was not part of the plan. His handler was supposed to bring him back, but of course, the deep state has other problems. And this is coming out of CBS News. Edward Snowden wants to come home. I'm not asking for a pass. What I'm asking for is a fair trial. We need to go back to post 3021. And Q at this time says to Snowden, would you be coming home in 2019 with a parade, a hero, or restraints, criminal? So in this post it says, at Snowden, parade or restraints 2019. That's very interesting because Snowden is in Russia, and again, he has nothing else to offer them because they never thought she was going to lose. He's stuck there. So Q is asking him, are you coming home with a parade or in restraints? Post 3024. This was March 2019. Snowden was banking on Hillary to win. You never thought she would lose. Banking on Brennan to bring you home. You never expected a new director to be appointed. Agency rogue elements still in control of OP. No. Gina, open attacks. Then there's 3UDHQ. What do you have left to sell to Russia to retain your safety and security? Welcome home, at Snowden. He's stuck. He has no alternative. He could stay there, or he can come home and face charges. As we know, the IG has handed Barr the report, and they're reviewing it. Comey's report was first, and then it came out that McCabe was being prosecuted. And Obama, they're all lining up right now to defend McCabe. Who's on the team? It's going to be Comey, Brennan, Strzok, all the same exact players. They're going to try to defend McCabe in court. They're going to come and tell the court that he's a good guy. That's their plan. It's not going to work. Comey can't help McCabe because Comey has other problems. Brennan has other problems. Obama is going to have other problems. Actually, with Comey, the ACLJ sent a Freedom of Information Act request to the FBI and other offices of the Department of Justice so they could determine what Comey and his circle of corruption had done in their efforts to spy on the Trump administration. And they're saying that the deadline for the FBI to comply with the Freedom of Information Act request has now passed, and they haven't complied. So now they are filing a lawsuit to get the information. And this is what they want. All records, including emails, memorandum, briefs, electronic messages, pertaining to this spy Ferrante's time within the White House and beyond. We're also demanding records related to the spying effort and what we call Comey's circle of corruption. These are Comey's closest advisors, including Baker, McCabe, Strzok, Page, Rybicki, Bowditch, Steinbach, Tricia Anderson, Bill Priestab, Jonathan Maffa, and the rest. Finally, they're asking for all of James Comey's emails from April 1st, 2016 to May 31st of 2017. They want it all. Everything is coming down around the deep state. And the squeeze is being put on them. Remember, they're the hunted. They're on the defensive. The Patriots, they have all the control. They're holding all the cards. Now, Trump, he is now turning the tables on the deep state. He's pointing everyone to where the corruption actually is. He tweeted out the following. House Judiciary has given up on the Mueller report. Sadly for them, after 2 years and $40 million spent, zero collusion, zero obstruction. So they say, okay, let's look at everything else and all of the deals that Trump has done over his lifetime. But it doesn't work that way. I have a better idea. Look at the Obama book deal or the ridiculous Netflix deal. Then look at all the deals made by the Dems in Congress, the Congressional Slush Fund, and lastly, the IG reports. Take a look at them. Those investigations would be over fast. He continued, we cannot have what happened to this president happen again. Joe D., it is time for justice to come barreling in. At Lou Dobbs, can you imagine that with everything going on in this world, the witch hunt, though on respirator, is still whimpering along? A disgrace. What is Trump talking about with these book deals and these Netflix deals? Well, we need to go back to post 3383. And Q gave us in January 7, 2018, and it says U.S. taxpayers are paying for it all. Paris Accord, Red Cross, foreign aid, war. Who audits where the money actually goes? The U.S. taxpayer is funding the very people. Slush funds everywhere. Down below, it says, imagine what would happen if by law every U.S. congressman, woman, U.S. senator, president, etc. was by U.S. law audited every 1 to 2 years by an independent agency. Imagine what would happen if those audits extended to all family members of such elected officials. Would D's continue to push for foreign aid to other seas versus the homeland? What happens when the kickbacks dry up? Maxine Waters, $4 million house. Nancy Pelosi, net worth $150 million plus. Joe Biden's son, brother, net worth tens of millions. Clinton family, $200 million. Pre-election, Bill Clinton, less than $1 million. Obama family, $40 million. Pre-election, less than $1 million. Disguised under book deals. Those who take are offered more powerful positions within the party. Controlled. Drain the swamp. Post 3523. Down below it says, do you believe in coincidences? How do you clean dirty money? This is what Trump is saying. Investigate their book deals. Investigate the Netflix deals. Investigate all of it and investigate where they got this money. Instead of looking at Trump, who's already been cleared. Guess what? That's already being done. Now, the swamp is being drained and replaced. We mentioned that there are now 150 new federal judges which were brought in by Trump. Trump tweeted out the following. At New York Times, this week the Senate passed a milestone in confirming the 150th federal judge of Mr. Trump's administration to a lifetime appointment, far outstripping Barack Obama's pace and fulfilling pledges by Mr. Trump and Mr. O'Connell to remake the federal judiciary. These conservative judicial appointments will impact our nation for years to come. said Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina who leads the Judiciary Committee and who has been speeding through Trump nominees. The entire court system is changing at a record pace. Why does Trump need to change all this? Because when the arrests come in all these different areas, they need the right judges in place. They need the swamp drained. This is coming out of current judicial vacancies. And right now, as of September 16, 2019, total vacancies is 106. Total nominees that are pending right now are 39 more. The swamp is being drained. Think about all the people that have been fired, all the people that have resigned. Think about it. All of this is to put all the pieces in place to have trials so they can arrest and have fair trials. Let's move on to censorship and big tech. Right Side Broadcasting Network broadcast Trump rallies live, and all of a sudden YouTube decided to remove this function from their account without any explanation. Now, they didn't break any rules or terms of service. All they do is they broadcast Trump's rallies live. They have like 300 million views, and now they don't have the ability to broadcast the rallies live. Why do you think this is happening? We all know. Because they don't want anyone to see how big his rallies are. They're still waiting for an explanation. They didn't even have a strike on their channel. There's nothing there. There is no reason for this whatsoever. Of course, they're going to come up with something. But we'll have to wait and see. Now, what's very interesting, we know there's protests still going on, especially in France. The Yellow Vest protest is in its 44th week. And the mainstream media, they're not even looking at this. Oh boy, what a shot tweeted out the following. 44th week of Yellow Vest protests in France. Mainstream media will not broadcast this video, so it is up to you to spread this video around the globe. And yes, they are still protesting. It has not stopped. Now, we know the deep state, they're trying to push a collapse of the economic system. They know that there's no way to remove Trump. Yes, they can try to assassinate him. They can try other events. But to really hit home, to really get rid of Trump, they would need to crash the economic system. And they need to cover up what they've been doing in Saudi Arabia. So think about what they've done. Drones were flown into Saudi Arabia, hit a very large processing plant. If their plan succeeded, we could have either went to war, the economy would collapse, Trump, the people would say, oh my God, look what happened. This is not good. If he brought us to war, people would not like this at all. And it would be a complete disaster, but it would cover up everything that they needed to be covered up. Actually, this was part of their plan, if you really think about it. Start a war and collapse the economy. Blame it on the war. That is their plan. It was their plan from the beginning. If Hillary Clinton would have won, we would be in a war right now. Actually, Trump has said this many, many times before, and we all know this. And the economy would be collapsing. But they would blame this on the war, and they would explain that the shelves are bare because of the war. Credit froze up because of the war. You have to sacrifice because of the war. And they would have used this to cover up everything. And this is what they tried to do. Now, Trump soldier, he tweeted out and kind of explained the whole thing. Let me begin. World Energy Council, September 9th to 12th, Saudis never under pressure because their supply was greater than the speculated demand based on recession. WEC wanted the Saudis to lower production, and they refused. September 14th, the drones attacked. Coincidence? When the journo said biggest concern in this room, he is referring to leaders of the WEC. The biggest concern of the WEC with regards to the Saudis was their production was outstripping demand forecast. I find it quite interesting that the drones attacked the Saudis after they refused to curb production at the WEC. There are many powerful people that benefit from lower production coming out of Saudi Arabia. Was Iran lashing out on their own, Or were they being used to send a message? Key word, were they being used, or was it really them? There was an undercurrent of palpable angst at the WEC over the energy boom occurring in the United States, as well as our confrontation with China. Julian Lean Bloomberg is a mouthpiece for the global oil investor apoplectic over excess supply that will reduce the price of oil. Article in advance of WEC pushes hard for cuts. Note headline, worse than you thought. Who is the you referred to? Global investors? That's who. And gave us Bloomberg, and it says OPEC, the future is probably worse than you thought. The oil glut is much worse than it looks. We simply cannot have an excess of supply that will drive down prices. President Trump responds well in advance of markets opening tomorrow. He wants to keep oil prices down. Trump tweeted out the following. Based on the attack on Saudi Arabia, which may have an impact on oil prices, I have authorized the release of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, if needed, in a to-be-determined amount, sufficient to keep the markets well supplied. I have also informed all appropriate agencies to expedite approvals of the oil pipelines currently in the permitting process in Texas and various other states. Plenty of oil. Low oil prices reduce costs at the pump for you and me, as well as keeps costs down for the truckers and the transportation of goods. Lower oil prices equals lower prices for just about everything. Halima Croft, Managing Director and Chief Commodities Strategist, RBC Capital Markets, discussing the power of Trump tweets with regard to the oil market. Saudi Arabia's new Energy Minister, Prince bin Salman, refusing to take the bait over Trump tweets. The president is the president. He's entitled to tweet anything he wants. Trump admin declassified photos of the damage done to the plant in Saudi Arabia and shows the damaged processing plants. Now, I do believe their entire goal was to bring us into a worldwide economic collapse and most likely bring us to war. That is what they were trying to do. But you need to remember, Trump, he'll play along with them up until a point while they work their magic in the background. Trump tweeted out the following. Remember when Iran shot down a drone saying knowingly that it was in their airspace when in fact it was nowhere close? They stuck strongly to that story knowing that it was a very big lie. Now they say they had nothing to do with the attack on Saudi Arabia. We'll see. He continued, Saudi Arabia oil supply was attacked. There is a reason to believe that we know the culprit, are locked and loaded depending on verification, but are waiting to hear from the kingdom as to who they believe was the cause of the attack. Under the terms, we would proceed. Now, I believe Saudi Arabia is out there saying, yes, we do believe that it is Iran. They're also having the UN inspectors come in and check it out. Now, of course, optics are very important. Now, there are certain individuals that are calling for war. Senator Christopher Coons is saying that U.S. may need to use military force against Iran if intelligence reports determine Tehran was behind recent attacks on 2 Saudi oil refineries. Trump is a master at playing this game. Remember Syria? When he fired the missiles at an airbase in Syria, the mainstream media, the deep state, they were jumping up and down. We're ready to invade. We're going to get what we want. We're going to have regime change. Assad is finished. But what happened? Nothing. No invasion. No regime change. Instead, Trump said that we'll be reducing forces and eventually all forces will be removed from Syria. That's what's going to happen there. It is happening. Remember North Korea. North Korea firing their missiles. The mainstream media had consultants saying how North Korea will be able to hit the U.S., that we need to invade now. Trump tweeted out different names at Kim Jong-un saying that our nuclear button is bigger than your nuclear button. McMaster's was developing a plan to send 100,000 troops into North Korea. What happened? Trump made a peace deal with Kim Jong-un. Actually, he was the first president to cross the DMZ from South Korea to North Korea and shake hands with Kim Jong-un. Very interesting. So what was Trump really doing with these countries? He was removing the deep state black sites in these countries and setting them free. The deep state operatives in these countries, they're the ones who are pushing war. They're holding certain individuals hostage. Trump and the Patriots, we know this. Trump is not going to start a war with Iran. Iran is not going to start a war with the U.S. The deep state operatives, that's what they would like. But this is about removing the deep state operatives. The plan the deep state had is going to be used against them. The U.S. is energy independent. Trump is using reserves to keep prices down. The economic collapse is blocked. Trump will now have the ability to surgically remove the deep state. Now, the deep state here in the United States government, they're going to try to do anything possible to either start a war or to try to stop him any way they possibly can. Let's go back to post 1454. And here it says, EU sanctions on Iran. Leaders of EU only care about protecting flow of money, not the safety and security of their people world. Iran deal orchestrated for the sole purpose of lifting sanctions blockade to allow access of foreign businesses for individuals and company-wide enrichment scam. Nothing to do with nukes. This was a cover story. Hussein pallets of cash. Hussein's secret authority to convert US dollar. More coming. No mainstream media coverage. Got popcorn? Then we move to post 1822. Psychological projection. Define conspiracy. A secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. A conspiracy to destroy the government. The action of plotting or conspiring. And then down below it says fake news in brackets in bold. Fake news collaborating and pushing knowingly false information. Fake news knowingly false narrative pushes. POTUS will cause a war with North Korea. False. POTUS will cause a war with Iran. Also false. POTUS will destroy the world. On and on, knowingly false. Fear and scare push. Post 1943, watch Iran. Something incredible is about to happen. Hassan Rouhani. That's in brackets and bold, the kill brackets. Hassan Rouhani is the target. The good people of Iran have the power. Fight for your freedom. Now, you can see that the deep state, they are trying to push Trump into doing something. Trump doesn't work that way. He doesn't say you crossed a red line. He doesn't say we're going to war. Remember to look at his actions. A lot of the things that he does is to confuse the deep state. Now, very interestingly, John Brennan tweeted out the following. There is no doubt that @real Donald Trump precipitated this crisis by reneging on nuclear deal and declaring economic war on Iran. We now face a major national and international security challenge because of Trump's reckless incompetence. A bipartisan strategic response is essential. What is he worried about? Trump got rid of this deal, which leaves Brennan, Obama, the rest exposed, which means they're worried about Trump going in and removing the last of the operatives in Iran. They're panicking. What happened here? Backfired. Now they're worried that Trump and the Patriots are not going to do what they thought was going to happen. Think about what Trump did. We're energy independent. We have these vast amount of reserves. He blocked what they were trying to do. They wanted to raise prices quickly to really hurt the economy, not just here in the United States, but the world economy. That's not going to happen. They're hoping maybe they could start a war somehow, some way to cover all this up. I mean, this was their plan before. This is still their plan. Trump is not doing any of these things. Trump is going to remove the deep state operatives. This is why Brennan is panicking. They're exposed now. Their plan has failed, just like it's failed with Kavanaugh and everything else they tried to do. Think about it. Failure after failure after failure. They're on the defensive. They're being hunted. Now, as more and more of this information comes out and the Patriots strip the documents, I do believe what they're going to try to do is they're going to spin all the stories, of course. But those individuals like Barr and Durham and Huber and Horowitz, they're going to try to discredit them, saying that, oh, they're working with all of them are working with Trump. Trump put them up to this, that they're not following the rule of law. They're going to try to make a move to show the American people that you can't trust these individuals, while spinning all the other stories, just like they're spinning it with McCabe. Remember, they're desperate. But this is not going to work, because they're not the ones who signed the documents. It's not their names on the documents. It's Brennan, Comey, Obama, and the rest. It's their names on the documents. They authorized certain things. They put everything into motion. They're just producing it. So their spin, them trying to discredit their reputation, it all is not going to work. They will try, but it won't work. It will fail like everything else we are seeing. Patriots are in full control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.